Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Hope all is well. If you take a look at the past year, you'll notice that a lot has happened, to say the least. A lot of major changes have taken place in each and every one of our lives. It's true that when we live every moment of this year, in the specific moments, we don't really realize, we're not always conscious of how hectic, how intense of a year this has been. Because we know we're living in every specific moment and we're used to it to a certain degree and we're accustomed to it. But when we look at it, like when we zoom out a little bit and we really say, hey, listen, a year ago the world was in a completely different state of reality and now it is where it is now, it's clear we're going to be quite mesmerized. And that's especially true to an infinitely greater degree when we're conscious of Hashem in connotation with what's going on in this world. Meaning when we look at what's going on in the world through the lens of Hashem is running the show. Hashem is the boss, Hashem is the creator. Every detail is his fine work, the fine works of his hand. So we see that Hashem is preparing the world for something. He's brewing up the redemption, as they say. It's here. And we have to realize that before the world entered the state that it's in now, about a year ago, people were very into many different activities, whatever it may be, but the bottom line is people were distracted. People were living in a state of sleep. Spiritually, a person, just like physically a person could be asleep or awake, and when they're asleep they're in a different state, they're not conscious of their surroundings, but when they're awake they're more conscious of their surroundings. How much more so in a spiritual way? A person can be in this world, and if a person's living in this world and they're not making efforts and not becoming more conscious of Hashem, they can become in a state of spiritual sleep, and they'll become insensitive at the first glance to godliness. The more a person refines themselves, the more a person involves themselves with Hashem, with Hashem's will, the more they start to tap into this greater reality, this godly reality, and they start to see this physical world through a spiritual lens. Because as you know, this physical world is actually spiritual in essence. The whole point of the physical is to transform it into spiritual, and that causes Hashem the greatest pleasure. That this physical world specifically becomes spiritual, because it's the furthest but also the closest at the same time, because it's a mirror image. Basically meaning that we have free will in this world, whereas in the higher realms, all the angels, they don't necessarily have free will. They're serving Hashem. They feel Hashem's presence. It's a much different service. So Hashem doesn't get as much pleasure from angels serving Him because they're angels. They don't have a Yetzer Hara. They don't have an evil inclination. They don't sin. Whereas in this world, we have desires that go against Hashem's will. So when we overcome our desires and do Hashem's will, it causes Hashem the greatest pleasure. It's clear that Hashem is preparing the world to make this a reality, to make this revealed. Because when Moshiach comes, it will be open and revealed. And that it will be so obvious to do a good deed and so obvious to not do a bad deed that we won't really have free will anymore when Moshiach comes. Because Hashem will be so revealed throughout the world that we'll be in awe of Him, we'll be in awe and in love with Hashem, that it'll be so obvious to always do as well. So these precious moments right now are so precious, so dear, because in this moment we cause Hashem so much pleasure by serving Him, because we still have an aspect of free will. May Mashiach come today, and then Hashem will be revealed, and then we'll enter the new reality. But we have to take advantage of every moment we have. We have to recognize that we're not here for our own physical pleasure, but we're here to cause Hashem pleasure. And that is the greatest pleasure of all. When we do something spiritual in this physical world, it's the greatest pleasure for both Hashem and for us. So to connect this back to what's going on in the world, it's clear that we're entering a new state. Hashem is bringing us into the redemption. It's clear. Hashem took away all the distractions. It's true, it may be difficult at times, we're more constrained, we're more at home, but Hashem is doing this to open us up to the greater reality that He's bringing into revelation. We have to be conscious of this. We have to always remind ourselves that Hashem's in charge of this, and when we see this through a godly lens, we'll become excited and we'll become in awe of what's going on in the world, because we'll recognize that something big is underway. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe says that one extra mitzvah can bring Moshiach. There's always a scale of good and evil, and the second the scale flips, that's it. We're in the Moshiach's here and there's no going back. So whenever you're put in a situation where you can do one extra good deed, you should jump on it, you should grab it. Who knows, that may be the last mitzvah needed to bring the coming of Moshiach. So remember, when we see it through this lens, we become excited, become motivated to actualize this reality, to succeed in our mission, the mission that God put us into this world to accomplish. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you, and God bless you.